Banks don't have feelings. They don't have to. They're not required to. They don't care about your I don't say they don't care. You know what I mean? Your story doesn't fit into their algorithm of whether or not they are willing to assist you through this problem, the specific of your story. But it's very hard for the consumer who's going through this and carrying the struggle of whatever is going on in their life while they're facing this. It's very hard for them to compartmentalize and focus on just the controllables. And that's what I do. And the controllables are simple. Can we convince the lending institution that you are a viable bet to resume your normal payments and follow this through to term?
Good morning, great morning to you guys. Welcome to another fabulous episode of Exit Strategies Radio Show. Hey, I am your host, Corwyn J, Melette, broker and owner of Exit Realty Low Country Group in beautiful North Charleston, South Carolina. Hey, if this is your first time listening to this show, you, sir or ma'am, are in for a treat because our mission here is so simple. It is to empower our community through financial literacy and real estate education. Yeah, we're trying to teach you something. Guys, we're legacy building over here. That is what we do. Got to give a quick shout out to those who listen to us faithfully all the way from Hollywood, what you know, no good, all the way up through Monkey's Corner in the Charleston region. You guys are amazing. And y'all know my mama live out there in Monkey's Corner, right? Look here, got to give a shout out to Vanderbilt Evans Sr. If I don't put that senior on that thing, that dude, no matter what people say, will jack me up. All right. So I got to put the senior on there, him and his beautiful wife, Elder Evans. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. Love you. I cannot say it enough. And you know what that third time means. I love you yet the more. For my folks listening to Muddy Mullins, hey, the M&M, Marion County, love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Guys, we got a fabulous show today. All right. We have with us a guy who has not only the story of hardship, but more importantly, the story of perseverance, of survival, and success. All that stuff goes together, and he's going to share that with you today. So I want you guys to tune in. I want you guys to slow down in the kitchen. Some of y'all in there making some chicken and waffles. And look here, if y'all are, I need you to holler at your boy and let me know where you at so I can come on through. Some of y'all got some flapjacks. Some of y'all got some grits and eggs. Whatever it is, I need y'all to slow it down a little bit and pay attention to what we got going on here. Today, we have none other than Mr. Mike Russell. Now, Mike is the founder of Hope for Hardship. There's a story in that title and that company name and that nonprofit name yet alone. So guys, I want y'all to tune in. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm really grateful that you had me on, and I'm honored to share anything you and your listeners want to know.
Well, look, yeah, I appreciate it. So, Mike, look, I kind of dangle the carrot, but I ain't tell them. I like for people to tell their own story. I like for people to be their own author and carry their own narrative. And we want to definitely tell and share your story today. But, Mike, if you don't mind, give our listeners that high level 30, 40, 50 foot view and introduction of who you are and what it is that you do.
Sure, man. So I've owned a real estate brokerage since I was 19 years old. It's really the only real job I ever had. And so I've been doing this about 30 years now. And I experienced most of it self-created, just about every kind of struggle involved as it relates to real estate. I was foreclosed on, which not coincidentally led to a divorce. I filed corporate bankruptcy, personal bankruptcy, lost some loved ones that owned some property and had some family disputes over what was going to happen to it. I made a lot of bad decisions throughout the course of my life and my career as it related finances and real estate, and really created such a wide swath of collateral damage among my circle and the people that I care most about. And it took me the better part of 10 years to remedy that collateral damage. And so I started this nonprofit because I turned my life around. I keep doing it because I like to play a small role in helping other people turn theirs around and experience a softer landing than I did, because mine was anything but soft. After 30 years of running a real estate company, sometimes the day-to-day gets monotonous, I think, in anything that you do for 30 years. And so I stepped back a little bit from that day-to-day and put some folks in place that I really trust to run that, so I can spend the vast majority of my time if I could explain it effectively, it would be helping people get out of their own way, because that's typically what we are when we face financial crisis. And I really enjoy how it makes me feel to help someone feel a little more certainty in a very uncertain filled space. And that is, for most average consumers in America, fighting back against a bank is a very challenging thing to do when you are at threat of foreclosure, or making a sound, emotionless decision while facing divorce. That's an anomaly, very challenging to do that kind of thing. And so that's what I spend the vast majority of my time now, is talking to people who are at threat of losing their home by some semblance of poor decision-making paradigm.
So, Mike, I'm going to jump in here. And so I want to set the stage for our listeners on about 2 to 3 things. Then we're going to kind of recycle this. So
Sure.
First for our listeners, guys, this is what I want you to understand and know. Number one, I want you to think back to what the recession was and what was happening. We are not there now, but this conversation today is what happens if, or what you can do if. Now, what I also want to kind of put in here, guys, during COVID, many of us, and we talked about it here on this show, Mike, a lot of people were out here just misinforming people, telling people they don't have to pay their mortgage during COVID. We know that not to be the case. And we're starting to see some residual impacts and effects of that now, as people who didn't pay then, who haven't been able to reposition either on a modification, forbearance, or other workout with the lenders. Some of them have now faced challenges in trying to either figure out how they're going to come up with the arrears or what have you. And they're starting to get pressure from the lenders now. So we are starting to see that as a whole in the market. But to note, we're not in that space of recession. Some people think we'll have it. Who knows? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. If I did, I'd be hitting the lottery every day, and I'd be matter of fact, I'd be in Bali right now. I wouldn't be in Tahiti. I would be in the Maldives somewhere or another, in one of them little huts on the water, drinking up something and just enjoying myself. But Mike, your story is, and what you do now is that whole preemptive, what do you do if this happens? So let's frame this from, if you don't mind, let's kind of dig into your direct experience.
Yeah.
And then how do you advise people who may be getting to a place of similarity so that they can avoid, if you will, the same outcome that you did? You learned a lesson. Now you want to help people by teaching them before they have to experience it.
Yeah.
Let's take a short break.
Do you remember your grandma's front porch? That spot where stories were told, kisses were stolen, and sweet tea was always being sipped. Now imagine giving your family a place to make those same memories, but in a brand new, energy efficient, and home that was built just for you. At Country Boy Homes, we help folks just like you find that forever feeling. Whether it's your first home, your next home, or we're done with rent forever, like seriously home. We specialize in affordable and durable manufactured and modular homes, the kind that make room for muddy boots, big dreams, and second helpings. Come see what coming home really feels like. Call 843-574-8979 today. Country Boy Homes, built to last, priced for you.
So listen, 2 of the worst things that can happen to anyone in America are a foreclosure and a bankruptcy. Both is like the coup de grace. And I was successful enough to do a corporate bankruptcy, a personal bankruptcy, and get foreclosed on. So my credit was in the tank for the better part of 7 years. It made me unbankable in the real traditional lending world. I was untouchable and would lend me $5. So look, the human condition comes at play of this, right? And I say this every day in my life, and I try to teach it to people, is we have absolutely no control how other people or entities react to things. What we have control of is how we react to their reaction. And that's where I really struggled. I really struggled when the bank began to threaten me. When creditors began to threaten me, my reaction, my defense mechanism was bury my head in the sand and ignore it. It was one of those F around and find out situations. The reality is, look, the human condition's at play. We don't want to face the reality of struggle when we're in the middle of it. We don't want to, and not just don't want to, we don't know how to stand up be proactive, and work towards a resolution to the problem. And so even though I had been in real estate about 10 years, I was still really wet behind the ears, a naive, kind of entitled kid. And I didn't really know what to do, but that human condition stuff was also at play. I didn't really want something. I didn't really want to lift myself up by the bootstraps and do something about this real problem. And so that's the work that I do. And all these years later, 20 years removed from those kinds of struggles, I know exactly what to do. And the reality is that when we are being chased, pursued by a large entity like a bank, the last thing we believe is that entity is actually the only one that can help us. And instead, most folks that I experience, they avoid those calls, or they don't have an ability to communicate effectively with this bank, this entity, without emotion, frustration, anger, blame, all of those things that come up. Banks don't have feelings. They don't have to. They're not required to. They don't care about your, I don't say they don't care. You know what I mean? Your story doesn't fit into their algorithm of whether or not they are willing to assist you through this problem, the specific of your story. But it's very hard for the consumer who's going through this and carrying the struggle of whatever is going on in their life while they're facing this. It's very hard for them to compartmentalize and focus on just the controllables. And that's what I help them do. And the controllables are simple. Can we convince the lending institution that you are a viable bet to resume your normal payments and follow this through to term? The deal. That's what you need to do. You are in somewhat of sales mode with the bank. You have to put together an outstanding application for assistance, requesting the bank to review your assistance application to therefore determine whether or not they will be willing to handle the arrearage and allow you to resume normal payments. So just as a perfect example, we submit an assistance application with some light supporting documentation. It's not a financial audit. I mean, it's not a forensic audit. It's a couple of months of bank statements, some pay stubs, maybe a P&L. If you have large deposits in your account, some letters of explanation to explain various things. You put together a package. The most valuable thing we do is we help them put the package together, but then we follow up with the bank every 3 business days to just get a status update. I just want to confirm you got that bank statement that I sent on Monday. Because as anyone knows out there who's been through this, you can send something to a bank 12 times and they don't get it. And adds to the frustration of the consumer. They feel like they're doing everything that's said. That follow-up is crucial. So we submit the application, and once it is deemed complete by the servicer or the lending institution, the investors, they will pause foreclosure proceedings while it is under review. It's sort of a reverse underwriting situation. So instead of when you buy a house, you go to underwriting. When you're trying to modify or remedy a past due loan situation, it effectively goes to underwriting again. You send them your financials. They all tell you it's a 30-day review period, and that's pretty accurate. Sometime in 3 to 4 weeks, they will issue what's called a results letter. In that results letter, they will determine here are your retention options, meaning you can retain the home, or they offer some non-retention options, which are never particularly attractive to most folks. But the idea, what we try to do is get them some retention options so they can not have a housing transition that is tremendously disruptive and abrupt, and they can buy themselves enough time, stay out of foreclosure, and enter into one of the programs that they allow people to stay in their home and see the term through. An example, the best one available out there today is available on, from what I can gather, every single FHA loan out there. And it's called a partial claim mortgage. And what that means, HUD, Housing and Urban Development, will come in. Let's say you owe, the biggest one I've seen yet is $189,000 in arrearage. HUD paid that entire $189,000 on behalf of the consumer money, paid the servicer that $189,000. And the only fair bargain that the servicer asked for in return is, we need you to resume your normal payments. The great benefit is you keep your original loan terms intact, meaning it's not a modification. And so I'm looking at one right now. I have a statement right here. It's a 2.25% 30-year fixed mortgage. Now, this you got to keep those terms, which as that's like the gold standard of mortgages. We kill for it, right? And so he gets to keep that, stay in his property for an $1,100 a month mortgage payment instead of being forced out to go rent at $1,850 or $2,250. He gets to retain that property. HUD, when they pay that servicer that $189,000 or whatever, 30, 40, 50, whatever your arrearage is, they hold that as a silent second at 0%, storing that at 0%. You still owe the money, but it does not have to be settled until either loan matures, you refi, or you sell your home and pay off. So it is a fantastic program for people. And the reality is no bank advertises it. They won't even tell you it's an option. You must apply for assistance, get your application deemed complete, go under the review process, and have it kicked back as a retention option. And that's always the one to choose. There are others. You can modify the terms if that's not available, or it's a true modification of the original terms of the note. Really not very attractive today, because the vast majority of the people that we're doing this work with are in a 2, 3, or sub 4% mortgage, fixed mortgage product. To do a full-blown modification, that's actually a modification of terms. It's going to term out at today's interest rates, 7+%, and they already couldn't afford their $1,100 payment. If you modify it at 7%, it's going to be a $1,900 payment. And so they have a litany of different retention options that they will offer, but that is by far and away the one we like to see the most.
So one of the things in what you just talked about, Mike, and for our listeners, guys, understand that there has to be hardship. Like, you can't just say, oh, I'm gonna stop paying my mortgage, whatever. That cursory look, if you will, at your bank statements to see where your money is. One, how much money you're bringing in. So from employment, verifiable, documentable sources. And number two, where your money's going. So if they see you spending money frivolously, giving money away or what have you, and now you're claiming a hardship, I distinctly remember this because, Mike, we've been in this space for a while. We've been around long enough to have dealt with and worked through and assisted people over the years. And I distinctly remember a situation where someone literally just came from Disneyland, had been to Disney for a week, took the family, spent the mortgage payments there, and then couldn't pay the mortgage payment and apply for a modification. So someone who does that in that situation, what do you advise them? How do you help them in that situation?
Yeah, so I'll add more to what you're saying, right? So the stuff you're talking about is absolutely fantastic advice, right? It's, look, make poor financial decisions, experience poor consequences, period, stop. Like that's right. Like that's the way it works. Proving the hardship is not very challenging to a bank, but here's the caveat. You must actually prove that the hardship is over in order to get considered for any type of assistance, because don't forget, any program that's going to allow you to stay in your property is going to be based on the fact that the bank believes you can resume or make your new modified payments. And so the reality of this situation is everybody we work with, in order for them to save their property, we have to be able to prove that their hardship has since been remedied. And so example of hardships, right? There are health, okay, out of your control by the grace of God. There are health problems. Someone who faced health problems and can no longer work. The death of a contributing spouse or contributing household member. Those types of things are very challenging to prove that the hardship is over unless the income has sustained back to the baseline level that the bank is going to require. Loss of income, reduction in wages was huge during COVID, reduction in earnings. And so all of those things, what we have to do is, by putting together this financial package, we need to prove that the income is sufficient, the monthly income or the non-borrower contributors that are contributing to the household. We need to be able to prove that that number maths out for the bank. And so more important, I guess I would say, than being able to prove a hardship, because honestly, not paying your mortgage for 3, 6, 9, 12, 18 months is all the proof a bank needs that there was a hardship. When it comes down to it, you stop, right? what we have to prove is that the hardship is over and that you are able to do it. And so back to what you were talking about, if you're going to Disneyland every other month and you're spending your money foolishly, you're not going to be able to prove that your hardship is over. Bank deal with people that they deem to be responsible in some way and that they hold up to their end of the bargain.
That was powerful advice from Mike Russell. We learned the critical financial truths about the FHA Partial Claim Mortgage and the importance of never ignoring your bank. But the story isn't over. Next week in part 2, Mike will give you the foreclosure playbook. You'll learn the precise legal timeline and the moment you must act to avoid auction. We discuss the bankruptcy trap and why filing Chapter 13 can be a huge mistake. You'll hear a powerful story of a family who lost their home, but later became homeowners again. Be sure to join us for part 2 next week. Thank you, Mike, for being with us.